Good afternoon, everyone. How is everyone? Are we happy? Good. Are we winning? Yes. Thank you to everyone who has essentially brought me home. And I feel very privileged and humbled to be with all the guests, and everybody is distinguished, so thank you for coming. I'm here today to talk to you about Mother Teresa and her achievements towards inspiring change around the world, and also for her service to the poorest of the poor, and of course about her canonization. And I say Saint Teresa of Calcutta, but I spell it with a K, not the C. And I'd like to start by very briefly showing you a short clip of Mother Teresa giving her Nobel Peace Prize acceptance speech in 1979.
To be able to understand the poor, I choose the poverty of our poor people. But I am grateful and I'm very happy to receive it in the name of the hungry, of the naked, of the homeless, of the crippled, of the blind, of the lepers, of all those people who feel unwanted, unloved, uncared, throwaway of the society, people who have become a burden to the society and are shunned by everybody. In their name, I accept the award. Today, I ask, with God's grace, we will be able to bring peace in the world.
I'm a survivor. I am a polio survivor. And my life with polio started when I was a toddler, aged around 18 months, in the twin industrial city of Howrah and Calcutta. And I survived polio at a time and a place when 1 in 5 children were dying of the virus. And I was paralyzed in my lower limbs. And because of poverty and geography and then disability, my original family were not able to look after me, which is how I ended up being rescued by Mother Teresa. I spent 5 years living in the orphanage with Mother Teresa until I was adopted. And my memories from that period are rather dark, sad, and lonely. And I stopped talking for 6 months when I learned that no one was coming to get me. Someone eventually did turn up and take me out of the Missionaries of Charity to RCFC, which is a rehabilitation centre for children, where I would undergo 2 years of corrective surgery to give me a chance to be independent. And because of polio, destiny led me to meet my adopted mother, who's pictured here in the middle, and to a new life in New Zealand. One day I was in an orphanage in India, and the next day I was eating chocolate gelato on Mission Bay. There is me in Mission Bay. And this was the first time I had a sense of belonging. I was given a passport and a birth certificate in that order, and I started to learn about families, how to live in a family, and how to make friends from completely different backgrounds. I left New Zealand after about 18 months and went to London, where I would meet my grandparents and the rest of my family. So I went from speaking Bengali to speaking English with a very strong Kiwi accent. Schooling began in Auckland and then to Hill House, pictured in this photo, which, as Mr. Wenceslas has said, was the same school that was also attended by Prince Charles. And then I went to a boarding school called Bedales. That was a very big contrast for me, who was once boarding with one of India's poorest, to then be given a chance to shine through education. After school, and taking a gap year travelling around the world with friends, I read international business studies. I didn't like the course that I attended, so I raised some money and opened up my nightclub. And it was during that period that I became heavily involved in the music side of the business, which was a factor that would influence my subsequent work in the British music industry. And so I spent 10 years managing bands at Creation, and we had bands like this, which is Oasis, which you may know. Creation became very successful, and I was able to experience a very roller coaster bona fide rock and roll lifestyle, and I ended up managing some other famous bands, such as this guy who's called Pete Doherty, who was in another band called the Libertines. And I would organise things like world tours, recordings and contracts, and probably anything else, such as bailing out rock stars from jail. And so one of my strongest memories from the roof of Mother Teresa's orphanage is kite flying. And in looking up at the sky, I also had a vision. And I longed to be on the jet planes that I saw overhead. And it was more about feeling the freedom of flying in the air with no post-polio paralysis to hold me back. And I should also never forget the day I first went in an aeroplane and left Calcutta. I have always wanted to be a pilot, and I was able to qualify in 2007, and that dream of mine I made real. And it was during those pilot training days that I felt alive, and I had a sense of freedom and of being liberated. And so I started to have new dreams and visualize a future where I wanted to help change the world as well as people's lives. So I set up a flying school called Freedom in the Air, which specializes in teaching people with disabilities to become commanders of aeroplanes. And as we all now know, on the 4th of September, His Holiness Pope Francis canonized and made Mother Teresa into a saint. And to celebrate her sainthood, I made a film and took photographs that were part of a multimedia project that toured India for 3 months around September the 4th. And what my film, Mother Teresa and Me, celebrates is the gift of the human imagination and explores the power of Mother Teresa's passion for the human race. Having spent several months in India with the missionaries of charity, I now naturally have a wider perspective of the world's priorities. There are so many more constructive things that could be achieved if we all harnessed our collective energy towards working towards promoting human quality of life. And think of the millions in the world who do not have basic health, education, sanitation, and peace, and suffer from hunger and diseases. I have a very deep understanding of how important voluntary organizations are in the world today, and I have had great opportunities in my life, and I believe that my calling is to help others who are less fortunate and celebrate in the spirit that the sky is the limit. And in this particular photograph, it is a photo of a dying man taken in the home of the dying and the destitute. And the reason I wanted to show you this is I feel it represents Mother Teresa making everyone feel at home. I don't think I have to say thank you to Mother Teresa for giving me a second chance at life. However, I have an immense responsibility not to waste or abuse that second chance at life. And without her service above self, my life would have remained one of grinding poverty. In order to end, I want to leave you with a memory of the last time I saw Mother Teresa just before she died. And it was when this photograph was taken, which was also the first time I went back to meet her after the last time I saw her, age 7. And she told me, "Nothing is difficult, just different. And if you can't find anyone to help realize your dreams, Don't be afraid of the unknown and achieve your dreams on your own. So I feel Saint Teresa of Calcutta gave me the protection when I needed it the most, and she fended for me and fought in my corner so that I could survive the black hole of Calcutta and have a life full of happiness away from the city of joy. Thank you very much.